Hello everyone, this is Diane. I'm here to show you the Mechanical SeaWorld journal that I just created. And I want to welcome you to my pretty pink cottage, which is where I sit and create. It's not really a pink cottage, but I like to pretend it is. So we are in my studio, and I am going to be doing a flip through of this newest creation of mine. And I used the Stamperia paper, which is called Mechanical SeaWorld. And I had the 8x8 pad. Before I flip through it, let me just show you just some scrap pieces that I'm going to send with it that you can use to add embellishments and collages, or just fold it up and tuck it into a pocket to have additional writing space. Whatever you want to do with these scrap pieces, plus a few sheets of this little sticky note paper. There's about 3 or 4 there. So that's what this little bundle, this little scrap of fabric too, this will come with the journal. But here is the journal. I created it with a vintage science book, and I just loved the pattern on that. I know it's not water. I don't know what that was. I did say it was a science book, but I liked the pattern with the excuse me, the steampunk sea kind of theme. The book is 6 3/4 by almost 9.5. I took these batik fabrics that were in strips and just sewed a few strips together to just create a fun tie. It's got some greens and blues and a little purple in there. The spine is bigger than my norm. It is 2.5 inches instead of the normal 2, but it needed it because of all the stuff that's in here. There is a lot going on in this book. And there are a lot of techniques used and a lot of different media. For example, this is a seahorse that I cut with my Big Shot and a die, and then I used embossing ink and embossing powders in different colors to give him the look that he has. And then these were cut with dyes, and I used alcohol inks to give them their color, and they were cut with different materials. I had this little top hat that was a part of Steampunk Digital, and I'll show you what set it was from, but I thought, well, that is just what that seahorse needs, so I embossed it with a pearly white embossing powder and glued it to the seahorse. This is just a little image that was on a, I don't know, 5x7 card, I believe, a pack of papers, and I loved the octopus. I put some batik fabric on the spine with the murky blues and browns and a little bit of green, and I added this rusty red excuse me, rusty red color. You will see there's lots of rusty colors in here on the Stamperia papers, and then I added that color in also to give a little bit of brightness to the murky colors. And the back is just left plain. On the spine, I added this vintage earring, which I thought was so cool. It's just 3 discs attached to each other, and it dangles, and there's some rust on the back of it. And I just attached it to this little ring. I thought that was fun. So we have 3 signatures, and I forgot how many pages are in each signature, but I'll put that in the listing. I'll put the total number of pages in the listing. I used this scrapbook paper that went so well with this book cover. Yeah, I had it in several different patterns, but the same colors. So I put that on the end papers. There's 2 different ones on the end papers, and I think you'll see pieces of it in the journal also. And there's a map book plate. I just put a piece of black and white striped ribbon to kind of hide the seam between the papers and the fabric. Alright, so I'm going to try to go quickly, but I do want to let you see all the details and the different techniques used. This is a piece of tissue vellum, and I embossed it. There's a bubble stamp there, and I just embossed it with blue embossing powder. Or else I stamped it with blue ink and then embossed it with clear embossing powder. I can't remember. A vintage trim here And here is one of the cogs that I did with a embossing technique. And this just has alcohol ink and a little fishy that I cut. All of these pieces were cut with the Big Shot. You can do some writing here, add a photo, whatever you'd like to do. I did quite a bit of stamping, so I used the sea, mostly seashell and seahorse stamps that I have, and also some steampunk type of stamps that I have, because we kind of merged both worlds together. Here it says Sea of Wonders. You can see I used rust colored thread throughout to help tie in the rust colors that are in the Stamperia paper. This is one of the 8x8 papers. I folded it so that it was the width I wanted, which was 6 1/4 inches wide for the book page, and then just folded the rest of it over and then attached papers to make that page bigger. I have a video on building the pages for this journal. You can see I built it up a little bit here, and I did some stamping there. So I'm going to try not to talk too much for the rest of the journal. I'd just like to do a flip through and show you, but there will probably be things that I want to explain. Have a top tuck here. Oh, I did get some of these images from a field guide of seashells, a vintage field guide. I took the thin papers that were from your creative studio and crumpled them up and inked the back, but I just liked the way they look better than the crisp white, so you can journal on those. This is a fabric flip. As I extended some of the pages, it helped create pockets. So this book has a lot of pockets and tuck spots. You will see this gear stamp frequently. I used it in many ways. It's pretty subtle on this piece. It's a Tim Holtz stamp, and so is the phrase there. I included some of the pages from the shell field guide so that you can just leave them in there to look at, or cut the images out and use them to decorate. You see the little dolphins that I stamped, just for a little bit of a subtle interest behind this. This was stamped with a clear embossing ink, and then I sprinkled different shades of Tim Holtz's embossing glaze on that, and I really like the way that turned out. This is some gears that I embossed and then rubbed with a wax, copper wax media. Like, not wax, but I don't know how to say it. Watercolor stick. Something like that. You can write on the back of that. Now this is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden, and I believe this was one of her freebies from years ago. And there were like 4 of these different pictures printed on the page, and then there was the name of her shop and the name of the little page kit, and then this little top hat was printed along with the title and stuff. So that little top hat is what I cut and used for his hat. Look at that octopus. There's a stamp there with a seashell on it. Sand dollar stamp. This is Italian paper, that fish piece. And this is from a digital. This was left over from last year. I think it was from Liana Scraps. I just glued this little fish on there because I had him left over. There's a vellum pocket. with a seashell cut from the field guide and this gear that I added the alcohol inks to, and I put the eyelets on it and then sewed the pocket down. Included these little tags. This is a tag that I made on a video. I think it was yesterday's video actually, that I did collaging on a 8.5 by 11 cardstock piece and then stamped on it and then cut it into tags and journaling cards, and that is one of them. There's an octopus with a dive helmet on. This one and the man riding the fish and some of the pieces like that, it's the Sea of Wonders. Those pieces are all from a Graphic 45 stamp set. For this pocket, I used a die cut, a Tim Holtz die, and just kind of tore it and then put vellum behind it and added one of the embossed seahorses. You can see the different flecks of different colors of embossing powder. As I had done the man on the fish with different colors, then I couldn't dump those colors back in the pot. This guy, I couldn't dump them in the pot because they would mix together. So I just kept them together, and it made a really fun embossing powder. A fun card that came with the Stamperia kit. And then this is one of the tags I made with the collaged cardstock. And I added a ball chain with a scallop shell and starfish dangle. And this fish I sprayed. I did that on camera. There's a little tuck spot here that was created by adding this paper to the little flap that I folded. One of the collage sheet pieces. And here I used a piece of tulle and stitched some spangles and sequins to it. I folded it double. And then I added this. I think this might have come from one of the Tim Holtz set of black and white. I think it's called Etchings. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a set of black and white ephemera pieces, and I colored it with the aqua color. Can't remember what I used to color it with. I think it was just a blue ink, and then I put some embossing glaze on it. And then I stamped some seahorses there to keep him company. This is a piece of tea bag paper that I had colored for a previous journal, and I had pieces left over. I just made a ruffle from a journal from last year, I think. There's journaling space on the back of these. And here's another of the collaged card tags. And this has a real metal die on it. Gear, I mean. Here's the second signature. I just did a collage on this one. And these 3 shells are from an antique scrapbook. So these are real antique pieces. Most of the shells like this were cut from the field guide book. Oops. Oh, I glued that down, but I didn't realize there was a sheet on top of it. Okay, so you got one sticky note there, but it's glued down. It's not a sticky note anymore. And one of the steampunk fairy ladies. Look at the anglerfish. Creepy. There's a little embossed seahorse with multiple colors of embossing powder. More of that Italian paper with the fish. Field guide page. And this came from Ephemera's Vintage Garden Steampunk Voyage kit, because I had this already printed and I just looked through it. Most of it was balloons and planes and things that would be in the sky, but I found one ship. Since we're doing the water theme, I just cut this page in half and use it as a journaling card. I like the way this pocket turned out. It is just a piece of cardstock that I embossed with a Crackle embossing folder, and then I rubbed it with orangey ink to make it look like coral. And I had cut this hole out of it, and I sewed a piece of tracing paper that was alcohol inked behind it. It's dark, so the picture that I put behind it doesn't really show up very much. And I loved the way this seahorse turned out. It was a rust color cardstock, and no matter what color of powder I put on it, light green and light blue, they were glazes, so you can see through them, and that dark color, it just kept getting darker. It's very shiny, and I love it. I added a tab to her, and there's this card. So I put her so you could see her through the window, but you can't see her very well. You can see her if you know to look. Made a pocket out of the octopus paper. I said I wasn't going to talk very much, but there's just so much to show. I added this little propeller piece from a Tim Holtz set onto this dolphin that I got at Hobby Lobby. You see that dolphin is made up of little dolphins. And I just thought that was fun, putting that on his back. That says Vagabond Society too. Put it right next to that one. There's a little Tim Holtz gentleman there. I thought they were fun. And then this little, like a fish scale or mermaid scale pattern stamp there. I added this fringe to cover up some just plain paper that was attached to the top of this paper. Thought that was fun. I like this page, the color of it. I bought colored paper from an Etsy seller, and I like the octopus that I stamped in the same color. It looks pretty subtle, and I did color the helmet a little bit. And then stamped "The Future Belongs to the Curious," and then this row of gentlemen. Here's a pocket that I made with an embossed cardstock with a seabed from Stampin' Up! Embossing folder. Oh, I found these tags that are part of the Stamperia paper, so I'm going to be inserting them in the journal. I just forgot to bring them over. This is from Your Creative Studio tissue paper. A lot of the elements you see in this journal are from Your Creative Studio. They were given to me by my friend Leslie because she had gotten one of their monthly boxes and it was mostly those items, and she said she wouldn't use them, so she sent them to me. That sticker is from the Antiquarian sticker book. Here's that dolphin again. The rest of that fringe. I'll tuck this tag in here. Here's a belly band I made with that gear stamp. I told you you'd see that a lot in this book. And this is a stamp that I embossed. I embossed this with copper. And then two of the Tim Holtz gentlemen. Just a scrapbook paper that you can write on. And another page from the field guide. This pocket is made with vellum, but it has the tissue paper on top of it. And I put a brad or an eyelet in there, and a bulb pin, and a little sand dollar charm. I stamped on the background there. There's another pocket made with a Tim Holtz cutout die, and this one I added some embossing powder to it and vellum behind it. There's another tag with that octopus. A nice big tag that you can write on. You can write on the back of all three of those pieces. So these pages are pretty decorated, but there are lots of pockets so that there are lots of things that you can pull out of the pockets to write on. And you can add more things into the pockets to write on also. Some gears. This is not a pocket, it's just an add-on piece. It's got just a bunch of stuff glued down to it. On this page I pleated up some of the tulle and added this horse. I love the way, seahorse. I love the colors. Love how he turned out. And then I attached this pocket with eyelets to give it a more steampunky look. It's got gears embossed on it and then alcohol inked gears added to it. This fellow stamped with a Tim Holtz stamp, and then this shell was cut from the field guide book, and I cut a slit in the shell so I could put it over his head for a hat. And this one has this pretty vellum on it, and I put another of the Tim Holtz cut pieces, and then I put jump rings with these little spangles on it. There's the gear embossing plate again with a metallic paper and alcohol inks. A couple of tags. I'll tuck this little tag in here. There's a seahorse and another Stamperia tag. I left you lots of space here. You can do lots of stuff there. This one I added metal gears, and this one is a genuine old piece. It's kind of, those pieces are a little bit sharp, but they're glued down. I stamped that little grid pattern stamp there behind the seahorse. I love the way this looks just pieced together, and you don't get an even sized or even shaped page. It's a little wonky, and I like it. I'll cut this off. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with those strings, so I didn't cut them off, but I will. You can tie them however you want to. Love this image. There's a border punch here. There's that gear stamp again. And then for this belly band, instead of going vertical, I put it horizontal. And it is a what do you call it? Embossed pearlescent looking blue paper. I just put one of those sticky notes on it. And this time I used the gear stamp on a piece of heavier cardstock, so that can be a stopper for this journaling card. It's got a sea turtle on it. I love this batik that I ruffled up and sewed on with the rust colored thread. And another pocket with the vellum behind it. A die cut coral that I used embossing powder on. I think it turned out really cute. Oh, I think this belonged in there. I know what I need to do. So I had this pocket here with the Italian paper fish again, but then I put this on with eyelets. So I ended up with two pockets. So I did have a card in there, a little tag in there, but so I'm gonna look for that one that I added. Excuse me while I go back and look, because it's just the right size for that. Was it that? I think that was already in there. I think there was one that had one of those long skinny tags, and then I added another one to it. Maybe it was that one. I'm sorry. It's giving you another quick look at all these pages. Yeah, I'm going to take it out of here. We're almost to the end of the book. I think it might be too long, but you can change it out if you want to for something else. Now I have to find a place for her. She can just go right there. Okay, so then we have this vellum pocket that I stamped those gears on with a pale green embossing powder, so it's very subtle. And then I embossed that grid stamp in black, and I embossed the helmeted octopus in black, and then put black eyelets all around it. I glued the pocket down, and then I added the eyelets. And we've got some cards to write on, and this little card that opens up, you can write on that. It's just got a couple little pieces glued to it. So there's lots of detail in this book. And on the back, I just put a library pocket, which I decorated a little bit, and then a couple of plain pieces that you can embellish any way you want to. I did a lot of embellishing and decorating and embossing and all of that stuff in this journal, so I left these two pieces for you to do what you want, and I put my signature on the back. So this was really fun to do. I very much enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process and the finished journal, and it is listed in my shop right now, and you can go over and see if it's still there, if it's something you would like to take home. I hope it finds a great forever home. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you are having a creative day today. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.